write it on your soul and let it show that you murdered me and you're holding fight with your own two hands. Don't think no one understands. It happens every day.
Die Katze mag miau.
Das war die Begrüßung exklusiv von Emilie Autumn heute Abend vom Tollwood, kurz nach ihrer Show. Und ich bin wirklich sehr, sehr stolz, dass wir die Mädels heute Abend zum Interview bekommen konnten. Everything okay? Hi, Emilie.
I'm just watching what's going on over here. I want to be a part of this.
Of what?
Ah. I think that's yours.
Okay, hello. Everything is okay?
Everything's delightful.
Okay.
How are you?
Fine, not too bad. I'm very proud that I can meet you today.
Thank you. I'm very delighted as well.
It was a really, really nice and fantastic performance tonight at Tollwood, and I think that I speak for the whole audience when I say thank you very much for this really, really nice impression we get of you and your show and your style. And so I want to know what's your impression about the Tollwood or being in Germany or in Europe at all in comparison to the American audience, for example?
It's amazing because in Germany there's a whole community for this type of music that there simply is not in America. And I don't think it's because there's not enough fans in America, because we do sell a great deal of records there. It's just that America is far, far too big, and so it really should be divided up into 3 parts, but nobody's figured out how to do that yet, so you don't get a consolidated group of people that like any one thing. They exist, but it's just hard to get them all together, so you don't have a Tollwood or a WGT or a Mariluna or anything like that. There's just not.
I see. So would you say that it's much harder to become a star or to being successful in America than in Europe or in Germany?
I think it's not incredibly difficult to become successful in America. It's just that there's a lot of pressure to be successful in a different way, like a more mainstream way. There's not really like success for a cult or a goth or an industrial or anything like that. I mean, you can do well and you can pay your rent and you can make a living, but it's nothing like this, where this is actually a worshipped culture, which is amazing, and you can see how people dress and the fact that you can get thousands of people all together in one festival, and yeah, that's simply a very difficult thing to do. And so when I made the record Apheliac that we're here playing and promoting and touring with, I just made it for myself. I had no knowledge whatsoever of who would be listening to it, where it would be listened to, who would buy it, and honestly I didn't really care. I did it because I needed to do it, and then afterwards I just sort of took it and listened to it and thought, okay, well, I don't know what happens now, but that's done. And then of course, like, the world of Europe comes along and says, oh, why don't you put out this record here, and why don't you play here and here? And of course I come over and do it and have an adventure and realize, okay, well, that's very, very different, and I actually feel like I have a place in music here, and I'm not fighting to be something else.
This would be my next question. There is a special kind of audience you want to address with your songs or with your style and with your performance?
Actually, no, there's not. And there used to be years ago when I made a different kind of music, and I think it was more optimistic and not quite so industrial, which is, you know, it's like metal. It's about the apocalypse and hell and the end of the world and whatever. And mine isn't quite that dark. Well, yeah, it is. It's about suicide, so I don't know. Yeah, I guess it is pretty nasty. What was the question? Oh, hello. Would you like
no, not yet. Concerning your special kind of audience, is there somebody who do you really want to address with your songs or with your performance or something?
It may sound terrible, but no, the person that I wanted to address when I made the music was me, and I really didn't care if anybody bought it. And it sounds terrible because I'm very, very grateful for the people that have. They're the reason why I'm here. They're the reason why we're all here eating biscuits and, you know, drinking whatever. And yeah, it's fantastic, but I didn't do it with anything in mind, and I don't think that I'm in a place to really attempt to address any sort of person, because I don't think I have the right to do that. I'm not a role model. I'm not even a role model for myself. I'm just somebody who is artistically creative and needs to take everything on the inside and find a way to deal with it on the outside. The art that I make is therapy for me. And it's also a lot of fun. That's the thing. It's like you can sing a song about something that's insanely horrible, and yet the thing that I like to do with it personally is to kind of flip it around and make it like an addictive pop song at the same time, to where it's like, why am I enjoying this? This is very, very sick. But it's a way of dealing with things that is like with a bit of humor, with a bit of irony, with kind of, well, with a lot of sarcasm, which is something that I didn't know at the time, but I realize now is not very common in goth music. And I've even been warned when we go on stage, like, be careful what you say, because the gothic community does not really get irony. And I think, well, then they'll figure it out, and it's fine, and I've never had any problem, and they seem to be able to laugh at it along with me. It's terribly serious, but it's terribly not. It's completely sarcastic and humorous at the same time. The one message that it does have is that it's not being a victim at all. It's actually taking these things that happen in everybody's life, but it seems especially mine, because I make myself do them for some stupid reason, and turning it around, taking the things that were used as a weapon against you, basically slaying those things, taking ownership of them. And that's what the asylum that we all live in is all about, is that the asylum is a place where you're taken and you're prosecuted and you're tortured and you're, all of those things. And the idea that is my own reality is that we're in that environment, we take it, we basically murder all the doctors who are torturing us, which can be a metaphor for whatever you want, and we take the asylum back for ourselves, and we can live in it, or we can come and go as we please, but it is ours, and it's not a bad place to live.
So you said it already, that you are an artist who has your own impressions or your own ideas and want to bring it out to your audience, and so you don't really care about what is my, or who's my audience, or who hears my music or something. And this is a really important question for me. So do you get your impressions from the outside, or do you have your own ideas and to bring it back to your environment?
Well, I want to say it isn't that I don't care who hears it. It's that if there is any one message that I would like any of the fans that I'm fortunate to have to take away from any of what I do, it is actually that you do what you do without an incredible amount of concern for what the opinions are of people that are hearing you. And I think that it's an awful thing when, and this happens every day, especially like the higher up you get, if you're an artist and you change really in any way what you do because of outside pressures, because they have nothing to do with it. And any artist who's in the history of the world who's ever done something that has actually changed anything or made something that was really, really important has not given a fuck about anybody else. They did it. I mean, it's a cliche story by now, but everybody knows that when like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony came out, everybody was like, that is the ugliest piece of shit I've ever heard. And so it's just one of those things. You cannot use the people around you even as a judge of what you do. If you do it, you better fucking be strong enough to just do it the way that you want. And if you're not, then don't get out there and sell it. Don't get on stage and do it. I've been making music for so long. Since I was 4 years old, I've been performing on stage just my whole entire life, everywhere. Classical music, like jazz, any kind of thing, I've done it, and you cannot please anybody, and I guess I really don't care about that, because I think that if there is anybody that respects me for what I do, I think that's actually the thing that they respect, not the songs or whatever it is that we actually do. They respect the fact that I don't care what they think, and it sounds horrible, but I don't think it is.
No, that's right, and I think that's the only way to be successful for a long time. And I think you're the best example for this.
It will, and that's what it's supposed to do, because I'm not the same person that I was yesterday, and I never will be.
Yeah.
If you see an artist that stays the same way over 10 years, you pretty much know they're lying.
Yeah.
Because nobody stays the same way over 10 years.
Right. So normally in Germany or in Europe, the Emilie Autumn stands for a solo project. So now you're on stage with your girls, and everybody was a little bit surprised to see these nice girls and doing a really good performance. So I would be interested in where do you get the knowledge of each other? Where do you found them? So because these two girls are coming from Germany, I've heard, and you two come from America. So is it by the internet or by a project, or?
It's really not that difficult. Everybody has mutual friends. Everybody sort of has an eye out for somebody that's like, you know, I see a prela and I say something, I know she's like me, and I have to have her. I need her to move into the asylum today. And so then you just make it happen, and if it's meant to be, it is. And there's actually a great deal of girls in the asylum who will be on stage in certain areas, who will not be on stage in certain areas, and it is actually a whole world. There's a whole network of girls who are part of this, and as we go on with the world tour, and it's very exciting, dates keep getting added. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to Holland, and it's insane. I never imagined it, and yeah, there will be new girls in every place, and there will be the few very important ones who will hopefully be with me always. And yeah, I think the really exciting thing about it is that it will always be a different show every time. It'll always be new.